you teach a class called and if I've got this right, it's called Hand to Gun. Am I saying that right?
That's
And
correct.
and in that class, the only guns we handled were blue guns. To a non-shooter, that means a pretend gun. It's identical to a real gun in size and shape, but it doesn't have any moving parts. It's solid plastic, and you're not going to accidentally shoot someone with it. But it's very good for practicing with holster work and disarms. And in your class, we were using it to find out in real life what the timing differences are between a gun and a knife. Will you tell our listeners a little bit about what that's all about and what you're trying to teach
Sure
with that?
thing. Sure thing. Sure thing. So there's two versions of that class. You were in the blue gun class. There's a live fire version of that as well. And that's the more popular one. Since we've last seen each other, it's been in higher demand to go with the live fire version. But either way, live fire or blue gun.
And that's with simunition,
The
right?
No, that's live fire.
Bullets?
Yes, sir. If you want to test out, if you want to test it, you go simunitions on a human, yes. But we do drills on a target that are completely safe for the user, the end user. But let me go back to your principle. The concept is that, let's just say you're in the size of an average house in America, which is about 20 feet roughly. That's ballpark for the average house. So in that 20-foot space, if you have two people at the end of that 20 feet, and there's 20 feet of space between you or more, and a weapon is presented, an edge weapon is presented, and they're intent on bodily harm or possible death, and you have a weapon, a firearm, to defend against it, do you have enough time, to use the firearm against the edge weapon attack? Now, if that was something like 50 yards, 25 yards, 30 yards, I'd be pretty good with that, because a good shooter who can get off a round from concealment in sub 2 seconds, you're going to be able to make round placement, combat effective round placement on your threat. The problem is, the closer, I should say, the shorter that gap, the less reaction time that you have. Your response to that is going to be proportionately ineffective. What I mean by that is, someone with a knife at an arm's length away from you, trying to cut your throat, for example, and then from that distance you clear your cover garment and go for your firearm. There is absolutely not enough time within the 2-second time frame to be able to do that. And let's say you were Rob Latham, and you could do that in 0.58. That is 58 hundredths of a second. Let's say you could do it in barely over a half second. Great, you got one round into the guy. Is that going to stop the attack? That one round?
Good
I mean,
chance.
if it's a headshot, sure.
Good
But if
chance
it's
that
a
it
body
won't.
shot, you have a greater probability that it will not on the body. If it's placed on the body, you have a greater percentage of it not being successful.
At least not in
So
time.
even if you hit him right in the heart, right? Most of the doctors I talked to, they said it's anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes before that has an effect.
I was going to ask.
The case in Florida,
Yep.
the shootout in Miami back in the 80s, the guy got shot 3 times with a 38 plus P plus in the heart. He was dead and didn't even know it. He continued for the next 2 minutes and killed another federal agent.